All right.
Are you live?
Yep, we're good.
All right, let's go ahead and call the July 14th KIPDA Regional Planning Council meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. We have 4 counties represented. We have Shelby, Henry, Bullitt, and Jefferson. Did you want to do roll call?
Yeah, I can just run through it real quick.
Okay.
Just for due diligence here. So for Bullitt County, we've got, yep, Keith, I got you. Judge Executive Jerry Summers and Charlie Spalding are not present. Henry County, Jason, got you. Jefferson County, we've got Rachel Casey for Mr. Brian Davis. Oldham County, don't believe we have anybody for Oldham County today. Shelby County, Mr. Ryan Libke. Spencer County, we've got just Judge Executive Scott Travis on here right now. They've got a couple vacancies. And then Trimble County, we've got John Alberto and Joe Robinson, neither present.
Thank you, Ryan. So with that, we have a quorum. First item of action would be our minutes from April 14th. You should have received those in your email. We'll need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve in a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved for the April 14th meeting. All right. Moving on to our guest speaker. We have Mr. Matt Meunier from the assistant to the mayor from the city of Jeffersontown.
Community and Economic Development Director.
Community and Economic Development Director. Thank you for being here today and look forward to hearing what you have to say. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Yeah, sure. Let me go find that for you, actually. Forgot to grab it.
You can push the slide.
Yeah.
Let her.
I can do it while you.
Okay.
Thanks. I put together a presentation and kind of put a lot of this stuff together. Happening in the city of Jeffersontown and kind of where we've been building to as a community. So some of the presentations about site selectors and economic development. It's also about a lot of the planning initiatives that we've done in the community to kind of position us for attracting businesses and growing our neighborhoods. So I always start off with this. This is our tagline, Crossroads of Community and Commerce. We live and breathe this every day, that we try to bridge that gap between your business community and the residents and try to build that community and this live, work, play type of environment that we all talk about a lot of times. So in my mind, we really can't have commerce without community, can't have community without your commerce. So they really go hand in hand. And sometimes they butt heads, but then a lot of times we try to work with them and bridge the gap. But they can see the benefit of embracing our business community just as much as our business should embrace our residential or our constituents. You want to hit the next slide. This is kind of the auspice that, at least in my mind, it gets us to jump off. What do we come to work for every day? What are we doing in our community? We're trying to create an environment where people can live, work, and play, to be able to really create strategies and priorities with everything we do kind of in city government to accomplish, these visions. And you can kind of see, I can't read that much better, but to be able to see, like under live, how do we develop this quality of life and really create that as a foundation for some of our future success. Thank you. Under work, how do we foster that business growth? How do we continually work to maintain and grow job expansion, support our local economy? And then, of course, play, how do we create that vibrant city centers or commercial corridors, or create recreational opportunities to really make this a desirable place where people do want to live, work, and play. Everybody.
Sorry, Matt.
Okay. So a little bit about Jeffersontown. We see ourselves as a very dynamic, exciting place for people to live, work, and play. A couple of fun facts about the city. We're the oldest incorporated city in Jefferson County. Somehow we got to Frankfort before Louisville did to actually incorporate as a city. So we celebrated our 229th year this past May. And so, it's kind of interesting. I guess maybe Louisville was more focused on other stuff, or maybe as a town, but somehow we got to Frankfort, I found out. So I think it's a good little tidbit. We're about the 10th largest city in the Commonwealth here, embedded in Louisville MSA. So that poses some of our own challenges. as a full functioning city on how we can create our own identity and our own autonomy, but also participate in this more regional economy here. Couple other little fun facts about the 10th largest city in the Commonwealth. We have some good strong ties to the Kentucky Derby. The 1913 Kentucky Derby winning horse called Donerail won that Derby. Still has the highest paying odds of any Derby winning horse. And of course, the 1914 filly won the Oaks and the Bronzewing. We've got a nice residential neighborhood named after that. When you look at how Jeffersontown fits into this MSA, and you've probably seen some of this when you last.
Yeah.
You know, the Louisville MSA is really about 15 counties, and includes some in Indiana, and then 10 counties in Kentucky. But as you can see, Jeffersontown is at the heart of it all, as I'd like to say. When you look at the city of Jeffersontown, though, this is kind of our corporate boundary. We're about 12 square miles. We're in Eastern Jersey County, got good transportation access with 64, Gene Snyder, some very strong commercial corridors with Hurstmore Parkway, Blankenbaker, Taylorsville Road. The two big engines that you see driving our economy is, of course, the Bluegrass Commerce Park. You can see how big that Commerce Park takes up of our city and is contiguous right down to our downtown historic Gaslight Square districts, and then is enveloped by a lot of the residential neighborhoods. Well, we're like you, most of your cities and counties, we're really a city of services that really try to support the business and the neighborhood growth. So we value a strong community policing and public safety strategy. We try to nurture that every year and bridge that gap between residents and businesses and what their safety needs are. And really create an atmosphere where they can engage our police department and our public safety efforts, not just when they need it or in trouble, but on a daily basis, and build that relationship. We have full service public works, delivering all these services to the residents and the businesses. We have planning and zoning powers. So we even though we have one planning commission in this county, we have zoning powers. We basically made that planning commission a recommending body to the city of Jeffersontown on every action. So it all has to come out here to us. There's a few levels of developments that are square footage and below a certain level. It all starts and stops in Jeffersontown and don't even hit the planning commission downtown. We feel that's an economic development tool for us because we can move projects through development processes a lot quicker. We understand our community quite better than a larger regional planning commission. So we think that we can be more responsive to those business needs and make sure we protect the interest of our constituents. We also have we do overall building permits, electrical permits, all that in our city as well. We don't rely on Metro for that. So again, that's another area we can be closest to the business needs or the residential need in providing those types of services. And of course, we got economic development and community development efforts within the city on a daily basis where we can help assist those residents or businesses on a legislative needs they need, or, you know, when it needs incentives for a particular project that makes sense. You know, we're there to partner with them on that, work with our counterparts in Louisville as well as the Commonwealth of Kentucky to deliver a good incentive package to attract some industry or to retain jobs. Our three primary focus areas that really drive a lot of our priorities and how we want to accomplish them and how we work and strategize to find appropriate funding or build that public support is our downtown. We all know our downtowns are the heart of our community, and it's no different in Jeffersontown. Our downtown really is the heartbeat. When we meet with site selectors and those in your community, they want to see your downtown. They want to feel your community, and that's very important to them whenever they're trying to just make a determination if they're going to locate in your community. So some of the key priorities that we're looking at is constantly having to focus to supporting local business growth and development, enhancing the streetscapes, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, and public spaces, constantly looking at walkability and connectivity issues, strengthening our Gaslight brand. Jeffersontown was one of the first cities that had true gas streetlights, and that's kind of how we got the name Gaslight, and it's branded into our Gaslight Festival or Gaslight Square. So we want to build that into kind of a destination environment for our downtown. And then, like any downtown, it's all about infill and mixed use types of developments. We want to put plans and strategies in place that would help us accomplish those types of initiatives. The other big focus, like I said, is the Bluegrass Commerce Park. It's really the economic engine of our economy, but it's also the economic engine of Louisville Metro, and it's also the economic engine for the state, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But our focus is to keep those businesses happy, attract new businesses, help the businesses there grow and expand and support the workforce initiatives, but also expand development opportunity. So we are working on a pretty aggressive annexation strategy as well to make sure that And when businesses want to be a part of our city because of some of those services and stuff, we have a mechanism to work with them and make sure it's right for our community, but also create a path for them to be able to be incorporated into our city. And I'll talk about one recent one that we did with the Norton Healthcare Children's Hospital in a second. The other third area that gets a lot of our focus is what I call commercial corridors of opportunity. So what this is really connecting up all these other kind of isolated areas of economic development, community development through these commercial corridors, and they really play a vital role in shaping the neighborhood needs and interests. Because a lot of these commercial corridors feed, the neighborhood with banks or dry cleaners or some groceries and that type of stuff. But as they age, sometimes they may become a negative to the community. So we're trying to develop some strategies and focus to them where we can actually give some direct focus, work with those neighborhoods in that area, bring what we can bring to the table to be able to help beautify some of the corridors, improve traffic flow, mobility, modernize some of the infrastructure needs that they may need, and then build an atmosphere where hopefully it can create an attractive environment for everybody. So our goals moving into 2027 is really to continue advancing our transportation improvements. And of course, KIPDA has been a wonderful partner with us, for the 23 years I've been here and trying to find those monies and those dollars to help make some of these goals and priorities a reality. We're going to continue our growth of our Commerce Park. That's our golden goose, if you will. I mean, that's where we get a huge portion of our budget comes from this business park that you guys are sitting in. So that's very vital to our economy as well. And then we also want to support a lot of the expansion of healthcare, life sciences, bioengineering type of things that are transforming our Commerce Park. And I'll touch on that in just a second. And then also, investing in the public infrastructure, continue to look at our city services, make sure that our services are meeting the needs of the businesses in the community today. So let's take just a little quick deeper dive in those three areas. So in our downtown, we were fortunate a couple of years ago, we applied to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for the Creating Vibrant Communities grant. We were one of the successful communities getting that. So we're very excited about using that tool to be able to help us understand our downtown, create an opportunity where maybe we can spur that growth in our downtown that's right for our community. So our downtown kind of is this footprint. It kind of follows our town center form district, and we're looking at expanding it just because of how it's growing. But roughly it's 328 parcels, 197 acres, and we got about 38 acres, which are those green sites that we think are more catalytic sites that could be right for some infield type of development, and maybe it could be a transformative project for our downtown. So with that, we did a lot of charrette type of planning efforts. We got out and really explored our downtown. We built into some of our streetscapes, the 9/11 Memorial Park there in the center top. With the streetscape on Washington Trail, we redid all the City Hall Plaza and that center picture on the bottom. And now we closed down our streets. We have concerts on City Hall steps, so it's kind of a nice street festival. And we embedded our farmers market right into in the heart of Gaslight Square District in our downtown. So we did a lot of these charrettes, bringing a lot of the stakeholders together, a lot of the businesses, property owners, citizens, as well as the extended people from Louisville Metro, Transportation Cabinet, and other entities in KIPDA to be able to participate in this discussion. Out of that now has come four main goals that's really driving how we can revitalize our downtown, how we could make sure we position for the right types of development that we want, that the community will embrace. And so we developed four strategic goals, if you will, that's stimulating quality development, improving access within the downtown, emphasizing the city's history when you're looking at design characteristics, then creating economic development opportunities. And from those four goals, we developed 13 strategies, kind of as an umbrella over each of those four goals. So we're looking at focusing on these catalytic sites. Maybe we could take the proactive approach and finding those sites. We live it every day, so we know what sites really probably are right for it. Now we may have to convince the property owner that it's time, and we're here to help them, and maybe we can partner in some capacity. And then look for developments that everybody can embrace, as well as active spaces, diversity in housing. We got a very small downtown. Like I said, our city's 229 years old, so a lot of our streets we're only 60.5 feet wide. They're a horse and buggy day. And so how do I transform them to at least get two-way traffic, maybe interject a sidewalk into some of those in order to improve circulation and accessibility around the downtown to help grow then that commercial activity. And so that's the primary focus on pedestrian mobility and safety, as well as public parking. We're constantly trying to stay ahead of that curve, in everybody's perception of public parking. And then also, how do we connect up all of our recreational or our play elements, our regional bike and ped trail, bike lanes, other things, to be able to connect up all those elements of our community to some of those key areas like the downtown, the Commerce Park, and then the corridor, neighborhood corridors. And then design guidelines and for buildings and growth. We really don't have a historical district in town. We don't have no design development standards. And so we are working through some of that now. Hopefully, maybe next year we can actually roll out a historical district that kind of mimics our downtown, as well as some of those design standards. And thanks to Shelbyville, we really been studying yours. It seems to work very well. It's a no nonsense approach, but it still gives you enough oversight to where you can protect some of those interests. So we really are liking that. We met with your city manager and your architectural review guy.
Historic
Brian-
district
Brian-
coordinator, Brian Cushing.
Right, yeah. So we're working on that, hopefully. I mean, we were pretty close moving in this year, but it's election year for us. We all know what happens in election years. Things just kind of stop. Streetscape design, we've been fortunate to get a lot of funding through KIPDA to really improve some of our streetscape. I use it as a model that sometimes you build it and they will come, or if you build it, make your improvements, your neighbor feels guilty and he'll go out there and start improving his building, doing facade stuff. So we kind of play that game a little bit, but it does work. It's an excellent tool to attract new interest to your downtowns or your corridors. You can make some of those improvements. The community loves them, but it also has an extended thing where people see you differently than what they saw you before. And then, of course, under economic opportunities, we constantly are looking at, incentives, make them available where it's appropriate to that particular business. And if it's the right match for us, we don't want to give away tax dollars to give away. So we want to use those strategically. And then all around trying to create kind of an entertainment district, a destination, if you will. We just opened up our new amphitheater. It's right contiguous. I consider it part of our downtown and treating it as an economic development tool to really drive people to our community, come downtown, eat, shop, then go to the music event and maybe come back up and hang around a little bit longer. So that's kind of how we're treating it. Out of this downtown plan, we looked at some of those catalytic sites and worked with them and tried to demonstrate through some of these exhibits that you can, in fact, develop some good quality infill types of development, and will fit there with the parking needs, the access needs, the land use needs, and all that stuff to hopefully drive some of that economy that we'd like to shape our downtown through. And so we looked at ways that you can animate your downtown, and we got plans for maybe a small boutique hotel, some Airbnbs to get some of that transient movement. Those are the people that get feet on your street after 5 o'clock. And create a little bit more of some of that public interest. We're looking at rooftop activity and other animated features to attract a broader audience. Green spaces, of course, are always going to be important. People want to congregate in nice, attractive environments. And in the planning world, people attract people, that really grows some economy. So I work with my businesses kind of bring your dining out front. I'll work with you to allow you to bring it out to the right of way, but bring it outside. Hell, give them a 10% discount if they sit outside first, because if people see people sitting there, they're more willing to frequent your business and you might increase your sales. And then other public spaces, your plazas, your just common areas, wider sidewalks, with street furniture and other types of amenities that want people to kind of pause and take in that environment. And from a planning perspective, if you can keep people longer, they will potentially spend more money too. And that's why the retail stores put all that fancy stuff in and all that marketing efforts to go there to grab us and keep us. The Bluegrass Commerce Park, like I said, this is the economic engine. It's the largest concentration of jobs in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's one of the largest concentration of jobs in the Southeast United States. It's over a little bit larger now than 2,500 acres because of the Norton Healthcare annexation. It's close to 2,000 businesses. Our population is around 31, 32, and our daytime population about 63. So we double every day because of the number of jobs that come into the city. And so it creates an interesting dynamic for transportation, public safety, neighborhood, transitioning between all those areas. But since it's been growing since the mid-60s, it's really works very well. I mean, you have some of those peak traffic issues, but having the many interstates and commercial and arterial roadways, I think help spread that out. There's good movement. There's 2 interchanges at Hurstbourne and Blankenbaker. And there's good movement through the park east to west and north to south. So I think it really helps disperse those 31 and 32,000 people every day. We're about 18 to 24 minutes from downtown Louisville and the airport, so that's another key strategic benefit to this Commerce Park, just because of its proximity to World Port. And then, of course, we all know in this part of the country, we're within a half day's drive to 2/3 of the US population, which I try to keep that as a marketing tool because it helps drive the bigger industry type people. Again, Commerce Park, here you can see a lot of the iconic brands that call this park home. I got Papa John's headquarters there, Baptist Health is headquarters there, Signature Healthcare is there, Norton Healthcare is going to build a children's hospital and maybe their headquarters. Amgen, Bigelow Tea building a $70 million tea bag facility. They got one there now, they're building a brand new, and they do 1 billion tea bags right now out of that Bigelow Tea. All Blankenbaker, and building a new one is gonna do 2 billion a year, coming right out of the little Jake Town. Really impressive, little tour to go watch how they make those tea bags. It's really a very sophisticated, process, so it's really interesting to see them in production. Here's really, I think, one of our strengths, we think. You know, this park started in the mid-60s and is pretty much warehouse distribution, logistics types companies, big warehouse type stuff. But over the years, it's really been transitioning into really a diverse level of business types. And so this is kind of the mixture that we're seeing as far as employment. And our biggest segment now that's growing is the healthcare, life sciences, bioengineering stuff. At, you know, pushing 19%. We still got strong manufacturing and strong transportation logistics, but we're also getting into the finance and professional services type jobs. And so to us, this is a good model because it's very diversified in any economic market. If in one industry segment starts to suffer, we don't see as big of an impact to our economy as maybe other communities do, because we seem to be fairly diversified in that model. And so since our occupational is based on employment, we're all about, we want jobs. So, you know, if you talk to us about data centers, we're probably not necessarily in favor of data centers, maybe not as much from understanding the water impacts and the electric impacts. Those are still viable argument, but even more so just about the jobs. It's hard to find 100, 200,000 square foot building here and maybe only have 11 jobs. You know, I challenged our mayor and council years ago about putting those car dealerships out here. Why do you want 10 acres of cars when I could have the next Papa John's headquarters or, you know, any other corporate use instead of having all those dealerships there? But I didn't win that argument, as you can see. And then there's towns, commercial corridors of opportunity, as I call them. You know, sometimes these are getting forgotten because everybody wants to focus on their downtown or their big shiny Commerce Park. But these are the ones that feed your neighborhoods on a daily basis. These are the ones that keep your constituents happy. And they serve a strong Bible, usually for the employees. They need a place to go do their banking and do their dry cleaning sometimes, you know, at lunchtime. So it's important to make sure that these commercial corridors stay just as viable and attention from a government perspective. And so we really see them as really something that serves the neighborhoods, and we need to figure out strategies for them. And these are some of the street corridors that we're working on. Some don't have as much problems as others, like First Farm, Parkway and Blankenbaker. They're strong corridors, you know, but Tills Road, you know, and Galen and Ruck Regional, some of them might need some help and focus to make sure that we're putting the right efforts towards them and keep them as a strong neighborhood commercial corridor. A couple years ago, I got some funding from KIPDA to go back. We did it about 2005, a downtown kind of parking and transportation study. We want to get updated on that and see what improvements we've done and what impact that had, and get what we have to do to be able to accomplish some of these goals. And so this was a good opportunity for us to do this, get this information. We looked at, these are all the active projects that the city's been working on. A lot of them are complete, some are close to being started and stuff, and really what their impact is on the downtown area. To make sure that we integrate any of their benefits to the community into this parking and transportation access plan. And ultimately, trying to help us shape how do we improve our transportation circulation in and around our downtown Taylor's Road and Larson Trail is our main arterials feeding our downtown. Well, Larson Trail acts as our main street. But if someone's going down the street and they see the Gaslight Diner or the candle shop, if they can't figure out how to go around the block to maybe want to go stop at that business, they're just gonna go on. And now I missed that opportunity to be able to capture some customers for that business, but create enough foot traffic when they're gonna attract new businesses. And so we really gotta work hard to improve these secondary streets, as I call them, to give them support. We're gonna talk about wayfinding, make sure we can reduce that anxiety if anybody wants to visit your community on how to get around your community. Make sure we can find every effort we can to keep them there. One of the other first tasks I kind of jumped off on when I first came to J-Town was there's a big pent up need for the community. They wanted bike and ped, they wanted connectivity. They want to be a part of this community, but they can't get there. And being that we're part of this larger metropolitan area, if they have to get in their car in any of my neighborhoods, there's too many options, they're gonna go somewhere else. And I've lost them. You know, right here in my community, trying to keep the dollars here and grow our own economy. So I very purposely named this the Gaslight Recreational Workplace Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan, because I wanted to bridge the gap between just the recreation component and what people may use it, recreation in their neighborhood, but also have the air to make sure it can connect up to the workplace where people can ride their bikes from where they live and work and be able to create some of that energy and dynamic. And let me know if I'm going over or anything else, but I'm trying to go as fast.
Oh, no, you're good.
We developed out of this study about 4 or 5 main goals that really drove in this. It's about a 9-month process. We involve almost every aspect of our community. But we focus on what's that transportation facility, how the bike and ped interact with the existing vehicular, and developing goals, objectives, and action strategies underneath that. We want to take a strong look at land use planning and its implications to recreational and workplace type of pedestrian and bike movement. Schools, we interact with all the schools. We're fortunate as a community to have 7 schools in our city proper. So we want to maintain them and encourage them because, you know, they build that desirability to want to live in our community because you get access to those schools. And a lot of the schools are starting to close and merge and do all that and come to these mega ones. So we've been very fortunate to maintain the ones that we have. We've got a couple private, but you know, the rest are public. Recreational facilities, parks and trails. So how do we connect up this to all of our parks and our key areas like the Commerce Park, the downtown, those corridors. And then also safety, security, and crime prevention is always gonna be important on these types of things. And just an excerpt from that plan, we reached out to all the schools, we did essay contests, coloring contests. We reached out to our senior citizen community and did some public engagement with them. We reached out to the whole Commerce Park and the chamber to get the business perspective of what's important to them. And I got several key projects, but I'm getting ready one to let here in 30 days to continue our bike and ped east-west movement through the Commerce Park. Because the employees tell us, I want a safe place for my employees to walk because of our wellness program inside my business, but I can't have them to walk around the parking lot. And a lot of those streets in the Commerce Park don't have sidewalks to begin with. So this plan looked at how do we provide some good east-west movement and maybe a few key north-south movement in order to at least provide some level of that bike and ped movement through the Commerce Park. We also got a small grant several years ago from KIPDA to look at wayfinding. Okay, I told you I had that identity problem because, you know, we're part of this larger metropolitan area. So I had to let people know when they're coming to J-Town. And then when you get here, how do you get downtown? How do you get to our parks? How do you get to our Commerce Park? You know, how do you get to our library? How do you get to our city hall? Those types of things. So out of that really kind of came some strategies. We improved, at least in our downtown area. New street signs had a different color than what we use in the rest of the city to kind of elevate. This is a more special place. Did a little bit more iron work on the bracket for it. Running some banners. We built in larger wayfinding signs as you come in all the major corridors. Big welcome to J-Town, straight ahead, downtown, all those types of things to let people even know that J-Town has a downtown. When I first came here, a lot of people say they just thought J-Town was an area of Louisville like Fern Creek and Oklahoma, but they thought Fern Creek was a city. Like, oh, I got a problem here. You know, Fern Creek's not a city, you know. So this was very pivotal as we started putting up some of these signs and really kind of, again, going towards shaping our destination and a little bit of our identity and trying to bridge that gap and educate people on how to, you know, traverse around our community. But, you know, with any of these stuff, we can't get there alone. Part of my big job is not necessarily sitting at my desk all the time at City Hall, is constantly out here working with a lot of our regional partners that touch every aspect of what we do in our city and make sure we have some of those strong relationships. So, you know, I'm constantly working with MSD when it comes to stormwater or sanitary sewer capacity, for business expansion and that, Louisville Water Company, my counterparts, Louisville, Louisville now, GLI now it's called One Louisville. My counterparts inside Louisville, the city government, the cabinet for economic development, of course, the transportation cabinet, our own chamber, KIPDA has been a wonderful source, as well as even, Jefferson County League of Cities, and Kentucky League of Cities. So all these partnerships really help one, either support the priorities that we're doing, help support even recommendation letters. We're on time for grants and funding for a lot of these projects. And so this really has been a key part, I think, of some of the successes that we think we've been having, and hopefully to continue to have. It takes a lot of effort. You know, I get people sometimes thinking I'm just out messing around. It's like, no, I'm trying to make all this stuff happen, and you gotta do that. But at some point, all these type people are gonna have a say in something that we're doing in our city. And so it's good to have the pulse of those people as well, but I think that's my last slide, other than just that, yeah. Other than that, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if there's any questions anybody have or me and whatever, but I'm more than happy to come talk to you more or help you, eliminate any problems you have and trying to accomplish anything else. If I've learned anything over the years, I'm more than happy to share it. You know, I've had to help the fire department write a grant because they want to get a new engine, so I've helped Linden do some stuff as a community, you know, if they're trying to figure it out in Shively, you know, so I think that's what's important to some of those governments, to share those ideas with other people too, so that's all.
Keith, Jason, got any questions or?
You know, Matt does a great job. J-Town's a good example for all of us. Y'all, we have a little bit different counties, of course, and cities have different,
Yeah,
ways we have to do some things, but, you guys are a really good example of how to do this, and you've done a great job. It's always been great to work with Matt.
Yeah. Agree with that. Matt, on your residential side, because you know, you talk about the Commerce Park and all that. What's your residential growth like?
well, I mean, our boundaries are kind of set unless we develop an annexation strategy. We have a very, very attractive, services or benefits, you know, for our residents. As far as, you know, trash and streetlights and all this stuff. So our theory is we probably manage more how we grow residentially than we probably do business, because, you know, in some cases we want those jobs. You know, I try to challenge councils, they don't just get any old job, let's get quality jobs that make sense for our community. But we get a lot of pressure from even some of these neighborhoods right outside our city to want to be annexed. But right now, the fear is, you know, we got this level of service there. And if we take more and more residential, it's gonna draw down on that, so somehow we gotta have that balance of the commerce side. So if we're getting ready to annex, the Chin Run corridor from Blankenbaker almost down to Easton. Because the pressure's there, some of that we feel is important, we can control some of what happens on that property, because it contigues to our city with our veteran park and our amphitheater. So we wanna have a little bit more say in property that's being developed, you know, around our city, so. We got all the petitions, we got the ability to annex that, so we're going through that process now. On the flip side of residential, and I keep telling the mayors and council this, you know, even though sometimes they say, we don't need any more voters, and I kind of get that. For election purposes and the politics side of it, but we gotta keep our neighborhoods strong, we gotta be investing in our neighborhoods just as much as we're investing in that Commerce Park. Because if you don't do that, and these neighborhoods start to degrade, you know, and they spiral there, you'll be hell ever getting them back. Maybe a 10-20 year period, and that could make that community suffer a bit. Because no one wants to live there, and they're gonna start springboarding over J-Town and going out to Fisherville or anywhere else, then that's gonna have a negative impact on us overall as a community. And so I tell them, that's why we gotta keep our schools strong. We need to invest in these neighborhoods. You know, I know government's limited on how we can spend our money, but we can do, you know, those bike and ped improvements, we can then do, you know, street improvements, make sure we do that. We can probably strengthen our code enforcement to make sure people do take care of their properties. That's some of the biggest complaints we get. Hanging gutters and shutters and tall grass. Will be very efficient in your code enforcement, even though that's double-edged side from the elected official standpoint. But we have to do that in order to make those neighborhoods successful. I'm trying to find other ways within our legal abilities as city to encourage that redevelopment, I mean, we give facade grants to businesses, is there something that maybe we can give to residential if they're willing to make an improvement in the neighborhood? Now, we do work with a lot of the HOAs, I attend a lot of their meetings, so if they got common areas or they wanna do some beautification, we finally have created some community funding that they apply for twice a year. If they wanna put a new signature entrance in, or they wanna do some other things that kind of help spur up their neighborhood, we'll fund some of them. We normally ask for some match and some skin in the game as well. And that has a lot of good success, and it drives then that, it kind of spreads, if like your neighbor mows the yard, what do? You run out and mow yours, right? I mean, it's kind of that, so it does work if you put it in motion. So we try to do a lot of that, we don't fund landscaping off if it dies, we won't try to come back and bid and say, hey, your landscape died. But it's the hard infrastructure stuff.
True.
And so we try to do that, but that part's kind of tough, I'm kind of a proponent of annexing maybe some of these newer neighborhoods like Saratoga and, maybe Stone Lakes if you want to go out that way. Because I think that helps create some more of that vibrancy and investment in your community as a whole. But that's always a challenge. Other than that, we don't really have anything that's currently in the same now, except for a small little pocket infield maybe for residential. Our model is more about how do we protect what we got, how do we enhance that and grow that, because, I mean, you can come out here even like Monticello and buy a house, that's what, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, basement, brick on a half acre. Cheaper than what you can buy some of those shotgun homes down in Germantown and Butchertown. I mean, it's really interesting how much those homes are going for down there, just because now all of a sudden it's a desirable place that people want to be, and they're willing to pay $500,000 for a shotgun home. You come out here and get a 4,000 square foot home, for less than that. It's like, wow. So how do I create that type of interest in some of these neighborhoods? We got a lot of those neighborhoods that need help, How do I try to find ways to attract that mindset? Or is there anything city can do? They their leverage to help spur that, so. I don't know what you're experiencing in Shelbyville. I mean, you cities are a little more unique because you're kind of the county seat. You are that commercial, they don't have nowhere else really to go. And so you do get that growth of that pressure to annex everybody as they're coming on, or even to get to your services,
Yeah, and just we have all the new developments, all our counties outside Jefferson, or other than some of the Jefferson County areas have a lot of new subdivision, a lot of residential growth, and that's why I was wondering
Yeah.
in J-Town what you all were seeing, because you don't really see that happening within your city limits, so. Didn't know how that was affecting you and all that.
Existing neighborhood strong, and then ones that want to come in, we consider them, we run a whole financial numbers on them, what's the revenue we can get off them, what's the cost of delivery of those services I mentioned to that, and then what does that implication do on our current budget at our current levels of revenue stream?
Yeah.
And then what happens, at some point, we held to pay to try to cut those services just to bring in more residential neighborhoods.
Sure,
You know,
because Simpsonville is very similar, they're pretty much developed out. They could annex some land, but you have property owners that don't want to be annexed.
Right.
Or don't want to change their, they're
Yeah.
farming or doing whatever. So they're looking at it, their strategy is more, hey, we like the industry, we like the commercial, we like the tax base.
Yeah,
So we'll then lower our taxes for our residents and we'll give back to them more.
and we've done that, but, at some point, we got one of the lowest tax rates, the 10 cents per 100.
Yeah,
But in Jefferson County, our taxes are stacked, so it really don't impact Metro Louisville. Because our taxes are on top of them, they still get what they get,
sure.
And Jefferson County is really unique just because Louisville Water is kind of a private, it's owned by the city of Louisville, it's considered kind of a private. And MSD does sanitary sewer, we don't control any of that, so, I can't hang, well, you gotta pay for city services, we gotta annex it if you want them. They already got it, if you ain't developing this county.
Correct.
Which sometimes maybe is a plus, but it also can be a minus,
Exactly.
on those.
What about restaurant tax and occupational tax?
Since we're considered a city of the second class, they reclassified now with KLZ, but it used to be a city of second class. KO statute says we can't do a restaurant tax, we can't, do those, and we're thinking about going up there and lobbying to see if we can get some of that change now, because it's the hindrance stuff. We do have insurance premium. And that's brought in some money, because we got all that insurance, there's a good level of insurance there. But we can't do the restaurant tax, and everything that we got penalized for years and years ago for everybody, There's only one convention visitor bureau in this county. So they get all the bed tax. We don't get no bed tax from our hotels. It all goes downtown to the CVB. And I've been trying out since I've been here to try to say two things. Either give me maybe a budget, give me $100,000 a year if I can start doing some more horticulture and tourism stuff, you know, or give me a body or two to really help me grow some of my horticulture and tourism, do it for me. You know, and before they built the Omni downtown, there were more hotel rooms in J-Town than was downtown Louisville. But it's been like pulling teeth. Building, find a way, can we create our own? And we've been doing a little research on that, and I think there may be a path legislatively that we can tweak some of that statute that took us out in that, and any other city that's in this county. From there, we'd be able to maybe create our own little convention visitor. Now, I'm not necessarily a proponent to start creating a bunch of individuals, you know, but if downtown don't wanna work with us and treat us just as much as important as maybe downtown Louisville, well, then maybe we'll try to go up to Frankfurt and try to lobby to change that legislation where we can create that, maybe get to into that bid tax, because you probably got a bit of it.
No, you,
Yeah.
restaurant,
And
bed
and
tax.
restaurant, yeah, yeah. So those are
That's the
really,
problem for the counties.
yeah, well, you got the revenue share.
We don't get any of that.
You don't get any of that.
Yeah, and we have, Bullitt County has 8 cities, which is ridiculous, in my opinion.
Well, there's 82 still in Jefferson County, right?
Yeah, but they're 10 times our size.
Well,
So it all kind of evens out.
Even that,
But it's, and they all got, occupational tax, and we can't sack it.
yeah,
So the county, we have no occupational tax. I mean, basically property tax and premium insurance.
okay.
And when we brought that in, the cities took half of it. So we're.
I told you earlier around, if there's a business in the county
Mhm.
and it's not in the city, you could get that occupational dollar.
You can, but here's the problem, there's so much of the, with that in cities. If we did that, for instance, we could probably have Jim Beam, Four Roses, a couple other big companies like that. One school that's outside of the city, to put that into play and to have somebody to monitor it and to administrate it, it'd be a wash.
Yeah.
There's not enough there to do.
Right.
You're not gonna do it to the school, because that's. I mean,
But is most of your industry,
political
is
nightmare.
most of your industry in one of the cities, because you gotta get to the city services.
Well,
Is that just big?
they, except we're, so much of our stuff, like the north end's all MSD.
Yeah.
We've got Louisville Water, most places there, except for Mount Washington, which, again, they have their own water, but they buy it from Louisville Water. It makes no sense.
Yep.
Yeah, it is, it's a political game.
Could have
Uh,
been.
So we're so flat. I mean, we don't have, so, we're looking for ways to, we've got the tourism overlay. We're trying to keep that. 245 is still in the county. We're hoping that it stays like that. But we don't have the occupational tax is
It's a big.
yeah, that's the killer for us.
Yeah.
And even, we have cities that are, Fox Chase has an occupational tax, like they have one business.
Yeah, so you guys would thrive from this perspective like Jefferson Town does.
Yes.
If the sewer and the water.
Yeah.
Is not tied to the annexation and incorporation element.
Yeah.
Then that levels that out, and then you can be able to compete for business out in the county just as much as.
Well, we get a lot of that because they don't have to pay, if they stay in the county, their taxes are so much lower. And then we do, our property taxes this year is 9%. And it's probably gonna go down to 8.9. I mean, again, the political reality is you can't raise that. You can't take the.
I mean, there's been years we've had to cut our property tax just because of the state formula, you can't increase more than 4%.
Yeah, the compensating rate is 4%.
Yeah. It's like, well, wait a minute, why can't we get that if we're appreciating that level? Why?
But the problem with that though, is what we run into is that we could take that. But if you go from, like we're at 9, let's say we take a compensating rate, it takes us to 9.3. You're gonna get beat in an election.
Yeah.
Because your tax has been level.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of the way.
I mean, we use it, politicians use it, oh, look, I cut your taxes this year. It's like,
That's exactly-
oh, we had to cut your taxes. We had to-
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do that every time.
Yeah.
That's-
So, yeah, it's
a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Any other questions for Matt at this
I
point?
had a quick thing.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you coming out. We've been
Okay.
talking for a while about getting
I
out here
did
to.
on the previous cycle or something like that.
Yeah, we made it happen. Yeah, so I appreciate you coming out and giving a spiel. I feel like from the perspective of KIPDA, like we work with a large variety of different cities. Obviously, our area development district is sort of unique in that we have the largest metropolitan area in the state, and then we go all the way up into Trumbull County and work with, super rural, small cities as well. From your perspective, I know that J-Town's got kind of some elements that a smaller community might not have, like with how much of an economic driver the Bluegrass Industrial Park is, but I guess what would be your sort of like advice for like a smaller city that maybe doesn't have like all of those resources, but that maybe kind of wants to start out doing some of these projects, or like, improving their downtown? What, from your perspective, from like,
When I first came here, I guess I'm kind of consider myself a little bit of a visionary. I can kind of see something maybe that other people can't see. Maybe that's a planner, I don't know. But what I always constantly heard reading from my elected officials, oh, well, that looks good in Danville, and that looks great in E-Town, that looks good in Boston, Massachusetts, or one of these little other towns you go throughout the country that you just fall in love with, but it can't happen here. I hear that all the time. And I say, I'm gonna show you a case. And one of the examples I use, I just did a streetscape on Tails Road, one of the first ones I did. And I said, I got identity project, I gotta let people know they're arriving at someplace other than again, I gotta let them know if they're coming down Tails Road, they're arriving at the 10th largest city in the Commonwealth, right here in Jefferson County. Maybe you know it. So on that project, it's very important that I get those archways across Tails Road, because that started to brand our downtown historic Gaslight Square district, you see them. And that went over to State Road, and somehow I was able to convince the State Road that I could put this big archway, two of them, on each end of our gateway into our downtown, start creating that identity, So one, you just gotta have that patience and persistence is the biggest one. And just keep that going. These little studies have been paramount for going after funding stream. I know a lot of communities say, oh, we don't need to plan, all we do is plan, we never accomplish nothing. I get that, I get that already. And that's why I've always tried to keep my plans on my desk. If I did a plan, I'm gonna try to do everything I can to implement it. Like that bike and pay it, I'm pushing maybe 85% of implementing a lot of stuff that came out of that plan. Like the parking study, I'm trying to, keep the pulse in front of the mayor. Okay, here's our parking strategy. We get this development, we're gonna need some more. So let's start looking at either getting cross-over agreements with church parking lots and that as a city, and we'll maintain it for them. Or maybe start buying a lot or something and make sure we have that. So these grants, or these plans have really shaped me getting a lot of these here funding streams. And leveraging your tax dollars at 80/20, like I tell people, I said, if I give you $100 every time you give me 20, would you do that all day long? He said, damn right I would, right? So you've got to communicate that to elected officials and show them how that 20% can really accomplish a lot of stuff for your community. And so that was the big stuff. And I can go sell the public on it, because they're the ones that influence the legislatures, even if the legislature will do it. So a lot of time, like this bike and ped, I went and did it to the community, got the community embrace this plan. I probably could have done that in 3 months. I made it go last 9 months because I wanted to touch every aspect of it, because I had a little problem inside government that didn't necessarily want a bike and ped. They thought people were gonna get murdered and raped on the trail and all this other stuff. And yet here the community fell in love with it and wanted it so much. So now basically the community wants it, the elected officials are gonna support it. But do the planning, keep it fresh on your mind and use that to start applying for grants. And really, KIPDA, like you said, KIPDA is probably one of the best I had this running for the state. I mean, they got this council and they got a lot of other ones that the staff really is aggressive in working with you guys. They'll get you to some of that funding stream. When I first came here, David Burton and Stacy Burton took me under the wing, kind of educated me on this whole process. And boy, I jumped in with both feet, and I've probably gotten about $30 million out of here since I've been here, to do a lot of these different transportation type improvement projects, as well as wayfinding and all this other stuff. So that's what I would encourage them to do. Really nurture their community, because that's where you get that buy-in, even if it's somewhat forced to get your legislative bodies to embrace something, because they really want to do what the public ultimately wants. They just got to make sure they hear it from them. So that's what I've seen is probably some of how I would approach some of that, and truly think you can embrace it, don't let someone tell you, oh, it can't happen here. It may have to be on a different schedule. And then the other thing I did, some said, well, we don't wanna do nothing, we don't wanna do, tourism and do that until we know we really have something. I said, well, we got something. I got a little museum that the city runs, you know, I got this down here, this little park, we got something, so inventory what your assets are, you know, that really make your community unique, you know, and then start telling that story. And you'll be surprised, Dan, on probably how much support you have to really start to maybe capture, try to do some of these bigger projects. You know, and then reach out to all your stakeholders, you know, all those other groups that really help support it, you know, and maybe become an advocate for that project as well, you know, and get that buy-in. Or at least that's the way I've done it, you know. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
no,
You
no,
know,
Thank you.
but there's a lot of, I mean, I drive through all these little downtowns, I take pictures all the time, just because I'm looking for stuff too, and then how I can bring it back here.
Mhm.
It's like in the city, in the center of Waterston Trail and Tails Road, if you drive now, when we did that streetscape, there's a big medallion in there. In the center of it, we used some of that, strip that you use for like pedestrian crosswalks, you know, that stuff that's embedded in the asphalt that has designs. I saw that when I went to Washington DC, and I think maybe Boston. I said, how can I do that here? That made that intersection look so nice and attractive pedestrian crossing. So I researched that and brought it back and built it into my design model here, and you know, and it's got the J-Town gas lights in it, kind of branding that key intersection and stuff, you know, so I learned a lot from just going through some of these little small cities. Stanford, Kentucky, I got many ideas from there, you know, Paducah, you know, Danville is pretty cool what some of the stuff they're doing. So, yeah, I just say inventory your assets, know what you got, find a way to turn it into a positive and build from and build that synergy around that. And then embrace your constituents to help you shape that and give you the support to do it.
Well, thank you, Matt. As
Yeah.
always, you're very professional. You're very willing to help other communities outside of your own, and we appreciate that, and you're always welcome at our council meeting. Thank you, Matt. All right, next item on our agenda, we've got a county quarterly updates. And Keith, do you have anything?
Not really, we're just moving along, comprehensive plan and that kind of stuff, so
All right,
just keep cranking.
sounds good. Jason, anything in Henry County?
Not really. The comprehensive plan, we're got our future land use maps done and there, so now we're just kind of, I was gonna talk to Felicia today. They were gonna update our numbers because it's been so long, so. And then it should be complete.
All right, I think we have Rachel with Metro. Do you have anything from the Metro side?
Yeah, we've got a lot kind of going on. We released our proposed draft regulations on data centers back in early June, and the 30-day comment period ended last Friday, and then we have our planning commission public hearings scheduled for that coming up at the end of July and early August. And then we also released our updated neighborhood housing regulations amendments to the land development code. This is continuing on the land development code reform work that was started in 2020 and previously known as middle housing. It's kind of been updated to include some other amendments in addition to just those middle housing types. So got a little bit of a rebrand to include some more amendments to focus development around our corridors and around areas with existing infrastructure. So that was released a couple weeks ago, and we have some public informational meetings coming up on that topic in the next 2 weeks. We are still working on our overall land development code rewrite. That process kind of kicked off in March. And we have a consultant firm out of Memphis called LRK that we have contracted to help us with that project. So that project is moving along. They're doing their background analysis now, existing conditions analysis on the land development code. And then you'll probably hear a press release or something kind of officially kicking off the process to the public in August, with some larger community meetings probably slated for that sometime in October right now at this point. So we got a lot of stuff going on here with metro planning. I have Joel Dock with me as well. He can speak on that. We've been working with Shively, the city of Shively, on a resolution that they gave us related to inclusionary housing and inclusionary zoning in the city of Shively. So Joel Dock can speak on that a little bit more because he's been more involved in those processes.
Thank you, Rachel. I think Rachel covered all the other work really well. As you all know, Louisville Metro contains a number of suburban cities, 12 of which have zoning authority. You all heard extensively from Matt earlier. J-Town is one of the few that handles almost all of the planning, text amendments included. But we are the Louisville or the Jefferson County Planning Commission is the planning unit for all of Metro. So the city of Shively tasked our office via the Planning Commission to review and bring forward recommendations on inclusionary zoning. That work started March, April. We presented an overview of kind of national trends, policies, rules, regulations to the city of Shively in May. We had our first community conversation in June. We intend to release a draft within the next 2 weeks, take the draft of those regulations back to the city of Shively for a follow-up community conversation, and then bring that through the adoption process through the Planning Commission and the legislative body of the city of Shively come August, September. So we're not really sure where those recommendations will land. It'll probably be multiple recommendations of both mandates and incentives to see where ultimately the city of Shively wants to take it as far as adoption to their version of the Land Development Code.
Okay, thanks, Joel. Thanks, Rachel. Anybody got any questions for them? For them? No? All right, thanks again for the input and the updates. From Shelby County, I'll just give you a quick couple things. At the last fiscal court meeting, the court approved their contract with a planning firm to do a new comp plan for the county. The city of Shelbyville is going to be releasing an RFP here in the next, probably within the next 30 days for a consultant to come in and do a comp plan for the city of Shelbyville. And then the Planning Commission, I'm going to recommend at this meeting in July that they approve an RFP to send out to rewrite our subdivision regulations to get that ball rolling. That's all I have for county updates for Shelby. Anything else? If not, then let's move on to KIPDA updates and comments from KIPDA staff. Real quick. You wanna go, Mick? I know you had some.
Yeah, just for transportation briefly, the I-65 Central Corridor project remains on schedule for reopening on August 1st. 2-mile section of southbound I-65 from University Boulevard to the Waterson Expressway is already reopened. After August 1st, 2 lanes will be open in each direction as construction continues into late 2027. In Floyd County, Indiana, there's a 3-year, $300 million project beginning on I-64 to reduce congestion and improve safety. There's details available for that on our website, improve64.com. And then the fiscal year 2027-2032 enacted highway plan has been released by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. It's $9.6 billion in state and federal funds statewide. However, there are more projects in the plan than there's funding projections will support. But funding will also be affected by the next federal 5-year surface transportation bill. Working its way through Congress right now is the Build America 250 Act, so we'll be following that closely.
All right, thanks, Mick. Jennifer, anything? Nothing. Anybody else?
I've got a
Ryan?
real quick thing. I know I met back in April and had a specific RPC dedicated to that update. But yeah, I just wanted to remind you all that that plan update is underway. I'm trying to get it submitted to the state and to FEMA in late September. It's going to be really tight because our contract with FEMA came through kind of late for this cycle update. But again, if you all have any input or just want updates or anything related to that plan, feel free to contact me. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Oh, we got other business. We have RPC chair nominations. Is that, Correct.
Did I leave that on there?
I didn't think that,
I think we did. Do we do them in January?
can't remember.
Yeah, I think we're.
Did
I think we did in
All right,
January.
so
Yeah,
that-
sorry,
that-
that's a typo.
All right, typo there, no big deal. We do have to have a public comment period. At this time, we will open up the public comment period for the July 14th RPC meeting. Is there anybody from the public that would like to come forward? Hearing and seeing none, the public comment period is closed. Next item of business will be a motion to adjourn.
So.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's meeting.
Yeah, thanks, y'all.
What are those, man, Ryan, did you?